Looking for the perfect hidden gem for your next night out? Welcome to Almost on the Lake, where the food is delicious. The service is top-notch. And the atmosphere feels like home. Family owned and locally loved. Come see why everyone is talking about Almost on the Lake.
Nestled in the heart of historic downtown Wilkesboro, the 1915 offers a wedding experience like no other. Once a federal courthouse and post office, the 1915 combines rich history with timeless charm. From intimate gatherings to full-day rentals, we provide the perfect backdrop for your most cherished moments. With indoor and outdoor options, bridal and groom suites, every detail is crafted just for you. Make your wedding unforgettable at the 1915, Wilkesboro's historic wedding venue, where your story begins.
Everybody knows Roselli's on 10th for the best authentic pizzas and pasta dishes in the region, but the real magic happens when you ask for the off-menu specials. That's when John steps out from behind the line, flashes that grin and says, "What are you in the mood for tonight? Have you tried one of our mouth-watering subs? And don't forget their famous desserts, because after a long week, you've earned it." Roselli's on 10th.
Roselli's is now open for lunch, Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. till 3 p.m.
Roselli's on 10th, come and taste the divine.
Closed captions for this episode of Life in Wilkes is brought to you by Deal Insurance Agency in Wilkesboro, an award-winning, experienced, family-owned and operated agency with service and coverage that goes above and beyond expectations. Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now as we experience the unique essence of life in Wilkes.
Good morning, Savannah Grace Walsh.
Yes, good morning. I'm so happy to be here with y'all.
Oh, this is fantastic. We talked, we've been trying to pull this together for 2 or 3 months?
Yeah.
And you've had so many exciting things going on. You've been in Nashville making music. You've got family and babies.
Yes.
And your dad bought a retail when you guys are in distribution, and then you got a retail store to do stuff with and figure out. So that you've been busy.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, that's great.
Have a lot going on. But.
Well, Savannah, let's start these shows like we normally do, and allow you to tell us a little bit about you, your people, and where you come from.
Yeah, so I am born and raised right here in Wilkes County. My parents are both from Wilkes County. My family deep-rooted in Wilkes County. My grandparents, on my dad's side, are deep-rooted in NASCAR and moonshine and all of the above.
Right.
My mom's family, everybody born and raised here. And, my husband's family, same thing. They're born and raised in Wilkes County. The majority of them are. So, we're pretty deep-rooted here.
So you know what it feels like to be officially from Wilkes County.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Now, let me talk about that for a minute, because it is not uncommon for people to be born in Wilkes, go away, and then come back.
Yes.
And go away and have great adventures in big cities, but still want to come back home.
Yeah, so I remember this was around the time my husband and I were getting married, and one of the people I was talking to about living in Wilkes County, they said, Wilkes County is really a good place to put down roots. It's a great place to raise your children. It's a great place to just kind of not really ride out the rest of life, but, once you're settled and once things are, you've got all your ducks in a row, it's a really good place to be. And honestly, I've gone and I've seen places, like you said. I've been in Nashville, and my husband, he went to school up in Johnson City at ETSU, and he came right back.
Right.
But, I go other places and I see it, and then I always say I would just be lost without the mountains, and I would be lost without Wilkes County and all of my village surrounding me here. So
something special about that, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're not in life on your own.
Yes.
And I think nature has a way of calming us down a bit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There is nothing like, and I'm sure you know this, driving up and you get to the Blue Ridge Parkway and either the sun is rising or the sun is setting, and it's just like that breath of fresh air, and you look out and you're like, wow, okay, you know what? God created all of this. If He cares about the beauty of this world so immensely, then I know He cares about me. So, yeah.
That's a pretty big thought.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sometimes I have those.
No, I love it. Well, that's you're letting that come out now in your music and your song.
Yeah, for sure.
So you grew up in Wilkes County. Anything you've done before music? Because we're going to do a lot of talking about that.
I mean, growing up, I grew up a lot. I spent a lot of time just right down the street at Tanya's Academy of Dance down over here on 10th Street.
Sure.
That's where my love for being on the stage came from, and that performance side of things. Did that make a big difference in your life at that young age? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Having that community and those people and there are things that, obviously there were downsides to it, but because, you get a bunch of girls together and we're all crazy. But there are lots of things, though, that I have taken from that. And the older I get, I look back at those things and I'm like, wow, I just pray that my children find these types of communities and experiences the same way that I did.
Nice. We're talking about your dance days and your early days of expressing creativity. If I remember from a story you had shared before, around 2004, 2005, in that time period, you came to a Light Up Downtown event in North Wilkesboro, and you had the opportunity to be presented, and I'm going to let you tell us what were you doing then?
Yeah, so I'll back up just a little bit and give a little backstory with that. So I started dancing at the age of 2, and I really honestly never stopped because now I still dance with my daughter. We do Mommy and Me classes.
Nice.
And her first recital is this weekend. But and then I moved from student to teacher in all of that. But I started dancing when I was 2. Absolutely loved it. And then one fall we get presented with, there's going to be a Little Miss Snowflake pageant. And my mom's like, okay, we can try it. No big deal, right?
How old were you at that time?
Let's see. I was in the 3rd or 4th grade. I don't remember exactly. So,
it would be
8, 9 years old.
Sure,
yeah.
To be a little miss.
Yeah. So, we did the pageant, and, I learned all the ways to hold myself and to walk. And thankfully, a lot of that came really natural to me from my years of ballet. But, yeah, we did it. They held the first pageant actually at the dance studio. And then I had my little dance that I did to, oh, my goodness, it's Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. Oh. I had my little dance, and I had my little Santa outfit with my marabou fur and all of that. And then we got to the end of it. I won it. It was really cool. I got to turn on the lights at Light Up Downtown with Santa and get my crown and all of that stuff. And
was that your first crown?
Yes, that was my first and only crown.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the only time I ever did that. I remember telling Mom afterwards, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I'll just dance. I don't like the pageantry stuff. It pushed it a little too far for me. I was like, I think I'm good with this.
Well, that story came up earlier because we were on the table in the studio. We always have LeBleu water. And because we've tried everything, and we just think it's got the best flavor. But you have a little story, because when you saw the LeBleu, you have a story about that tied to that pageant experience. So why don't you share that? Because I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, so my grandpa, his wife, her family is tied with leBleu, and when they started doing their branded bottles, making the different labels, that Christmas, he brought me a box of water bottles with my face on it.
So while the horse, your face was right there?
Yeah, so the whole wrap was red, and then it was like a picture of me, and it said Little Miss Snowflake. Yeah, it was, one of those things. I'm pretty sure my dad probably still has a bottle with that water in it. I'm sure it's never been poured out.
Oh my goodness.
In their bonus room.
Well,
With all of his racing cereal boxes and all of that stuff, the collector's items.
I wish I'd known that. I would have called him and had it sitting here as a surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, what a great story. But having those type of experiences, just by describing how you grew up, and you were exposed to the arts, dancing, ballet, which requires an enormous amount of discipline.
Oh, definitely. And I'm an eldest daughter. I'm the first granddaughter, eldest daughter. So there's a lot of that discipline that I think was just innately in me from being the first. I always told myself that I have to be the best at everything because everybody else will follow after me if I do a very good job.
Did it work?
Sometimes. I'm learning to let go of that, though, as I've become an adult. And, as I've gone through different things in life, I have learned, I have to let go of that perfection, that standard of perfection that nobody said it for me. I said it for myself.
But it pushed you, though, right?
Yes, absolutely. It pushed me, and there are, like I said, there are things from dance that I take that I cherish, and that the older I get, I look back at those and I'm like, wow, I really didn't appreciate that in the moment, but now that I'm an adult, I can appreciate that so much more. And one of those things is, and I spoke with Karen at the interview that I did at Merle Fest over the weekend. I spoke with her a little bit about this. So Miss Tanya, her mom, Miss Betty, she was always in the studio, and Miss Tanya and Miss Betty were like extensions of family to me. And Miss Betty would always tell me, she said, it doesn't matter what the judges think. It doesn't matter what the crowd thinks. As long as you are reaching the little old lady in the back row, making her smile, making her feel the love of Jesus through your dance, then that's all that matters. And that is something that as a child, I'm like, oh, okay, I can find the little lady in the back and I can look at her and make her smile. But as an adult, and as someone who sits in the back by herself with her children sometimes because they're being unruly, I feel that so much differently now, and I try to, put that into my music in a way that's honoring the Lord, but that also makes everybody feel seen.
That's powerful. I mean, when you think about that type of discipline and having that reason, the reason to do that, everybody doesn't have that. That's painful to think about.
Yeah, and it's very evident when you start, hanging out with other people in the music industry because it's very difficult to not make it all about me because I am the one that's doing the practice. I am the one that's writing the songs, but at the end of the day, I'm only able to do those things because the Lord has given them to me. And so it's very evident to me when people are just walking around and they don't have that purpose. They're just serving themselves. And I want to just hug them and be like, hey, has anybody ever tried to reach you that way? And then I wonder, I'm like, I don't know. It sends me into a snowball of emotions about that. So, yeah, it's finding that genuineness and just that realness that is
the authentic
yes,
you.
Yeah. Right. And when you find that, you got to cling on to it.
Right.
Don't let it go.
Makes a lot of sense, that we find the thing that brings joy to us, and the thing that brings joy to me is always involves bringing joy to somebody else.
Right, yeah.
It's always that way.
Absolutely.
When we're out on the road doing things for Life in the Carolinas and festivals, I'm always looking for someone to talk to. Oftentimes it's a little lady or, somebody that's interesting.
Right.
I remember one year there was I mean, Tim, I think you shot the show. I think it was during the Apple Festival. We were in town for that. And remember the guy that had the dog on his shoulders?
Yes. That was lined up. That was lined up.
Was that lined up? Okay, during your event.
Okay.
So it was a double take, and I'm like, well, it wasn't a small dog.
Yeah.
It was a really big dog on his shoulders. And I said, well, let's talk to those people.
Yeah.
Just because they're interesting.
Right.
And, some people have props like that that make them interesting. And other people are just so kind and gracious. And, they feel good just to talk to.
Yes.
So, that's a good moment. So you grew up in a very nurturing environment, not only from your family, but because of dance and because of your singing as a child. So that helped form you and help inspire you to be the person that you are now. Do you think that you would have had the confidence that you have now had it not been for those early years?
Probably not. Because even still, I get so nervous, and I just sometimes when I get on the stage, and as I have grown, and I've been serving on our praise team at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church for closer to 20 years than I like it to be.
Right.
Not because it's bad to serve there that long, but because I'm getting older.
You're counting the years. That's
yes. But when I was young, I would get so nervous. I was like, okay, I can't mess up one single time because all these people are going to judge me. But the older I get and the more mature that I am in my walk with my faith and things like that, I'm able to see, for one, I'm only performing and not even performing. I'm giving this offering to an audience of one. And that takes off so much pressure, but in the same turn, it opens me up for spiritual attack. And there have been times when I have walked up on the stage and I have felt this deep sense of just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
oppressed, the heaviness.
What's the word I'm looking for? More of a sense of dread, because I know that the enemy is trying to attack, but I know in the same turn that when that happens, I'm like, okay, you wouldn't attack me this hard if you didn't think I was something, or not I was something, but if you didn't think I had something to offer the Lord that was worth attacking. If you didn't think that what's about to happen in this room is not going to be honoring to the Lord, you would not attack me this hard, if that makes any sense.
And did that rationality, that reality, once that set in, and once you realize how you were feeling, from that moment on, did you know exactly what to go back to and say, hey, I got this. You just sit over there.
So definitely it's one of those things and sometimes I can crush it and I can be stronger about it than others. And then there are some times where I'm like, man, I'm really letting this get to me. I'm only human, and that happens a lot more than I would like to admit. But a lot of times I'm able to just grab it and say, no, this is not, this is of the Lord. I'm trusting the Lord with it, and it's for the Lord, and that's it.
I think fear that's the one common thing that all humans have.
Oh, for sure.
There are moments of fear and anxiety, and being able to acknowledge what it is and then go beyond it, because it's a thought, it's a real feeling. But once we figure out how to set it down and keep on singing, then that's when good stuff happens.
So, and we have a song that's not released yet that I can talk about a little bit when it comes to that. It's called Lay It Down, and it was one of the first ones that I wrote with intention of writing a song that wasn't just random notes on my phone.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about that since we're talking about it.
Yeah, so
lay it down. I like that.
After I had my daughter, I had extreme postpartum anxiety. And I feel like more and more you hear about people talking about postpartum depression. And I feel like postpartum anxiety is just like, oh, well, you're a new mom. There's a lot of stuff you're going to be anxious about. Yes, to a certain degree. But I was having I was having night terrors. Like, I would be in this, like, dream state thinking that I could not get to my child. She wasn't breathing. And I would just, like, lay there. Like, I was paralyzed, but I was also in this dream state. So just absolutely. And I had dealt with anxiety before in my life, but nothing on that level. So that's where Lay It Down comes from, is just reminding myself that Jesus tells us, come to me, you who are weary, because I want to lay your burdens down at my feet because I want to carry them for you. And not only that, but I want you to take on my burden, which is light. It's not anything, the burden that Jesus has is no burden, because it's not the sin of this world, because he's perfect. So, and that's one thing that the older I get, the more I'm able to grapple with, instead of just let it absolutely tear me apart and eat me alive.
Has that time period between when it happens, it hits you, has the time period gotten shorter in the sense that you know what's going on, so you can deal with it a lot quicker now?
Yeah, and I actually, it's one of those things that now I'm like, okay, I see these red flags popping up. I see these things coming on, and I'm like, okay, we got to stop in our tracks. I've got to lay this down, because I'm not. And that goes back to being the eldest daughter and being the control freak, because I very much am a control freak, as much as I like to pretend I'm not. But, that just comes to that. Just me personally, I just have to lay things down. Right. And the bridge of that song, the words are, every care, every fear, you are here, you are near, I release, I receive your perfect peace. So that just became a mantra to me, just over and over. I release it and I receive your peace. So not only do I lay it down, and I don't have to lay it down and keep turning around and checking on it. I lay it down.
It's over there.
He takes it away and gives me peace. So that's, and that's something that if you would have honestly even spoke to me 2 years ago and said that I would be able to do that, I would have been like, you're crazy. There's no way. But yeah, that was the first song that I really wrote with intentionality of writing a song.
Was it good medicine for you just to write that song?
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of my songs just kind of come from just journaling out thoughts, and then I look at it, I'm like, hey, we can make a little song out of this. And then I'll send him over to Gary, and he works his composition magic. And then we go to the studio, and we all get together and, make it. It's so amazing to see from, my tearful notes come to this beautiful, this production together. It's so amazing to see it come together.
Well, great things often come out of tears.
Yes.
Some great loss, some great anxiety, some great battle, the tears come. So you mentioned Gary. So Gary Foster is the person you're talking about. And Gary sent me a text, I think, and then called me many months ago.
Yeah.
and invoked your name. And I said, okay, what's a Savannah? And I know what it is in a land thing,
Right.
But I said, so tell me about her, and he did, and he says, I think there's something really special there.
Yeah, and Gary's been trying to get me to do this for years. He and I have served on praise team together for 10 plus years, and every time we would sing together, he's like, come on, we got to do this. I'm like, Gary, just not right now, just kind of blowing him off, whatever. And last fall, he texted me, and he's like, we're going to the studio this day. I said, wait, we're doing what? And he's like, yeah, we're going to the studio this day. Just bring some music. And I'm like, what do you mean bring some music? Because I took piano lessons, and I have a bass knowledge, but I don't really play and I don't play any other instrument other than that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, come on, it's going to be fine. And we get down there, and he's like, so what have you been writing? And I'm like, what do you mean, what have I been writing? And he's like, I know you're writing stuff. And I'm like, well, this is not the time or place to figure this out. But yeah, so then it just spurred from there, and we've just taken off.
And what was the first song?
Well, the first song is another one we've not released yet.
Fine.
And and I don't mind to tell you, it's called Holy Work, and it's about being a mother. So Lay It Down was the first song that I intentionally wrote with intentionality. Holy Work was one that I wrote that after I got Lay It Down, kind of planned out, I started looking at Holy Work, and it just talks about the holy work that mothers do in stewarding their children and discipling their children, and not just sitting down with your children and talking to them about Jesus, but in the gentle way that we care for them, whether it be washing their hair or caring for their boo-boos or playing dolls with them or getting back on the stage as a 30-year-old, dancing with my daughter, or, just cleaning up their mess after their dinner, making sure that their little stuffies are in the right place. And all of those things, the Lord has revealed to me that all of those little things that we do day by day, showing our children, putting their needs before ours, because I could just go sit on the couch and read a book and let them do their thing.
So you're writing about life.
Yes. Yeah.
It's almost like you're journaling.
Yeah.
And did you start writing as a song, or was it a poem, or just notes? What was it?
In 2017, I went to a praise team convention in Winston with Paul Balosh. He is a Christian singer-songwriter artist, and we had breakout sessions. And in 2017, I was not near the person. The Lord had a lot of work to do on my heart and He's done a lot of work. There's still a lot to be done. But I went to a songwriting breakout session, and he just said, if you think of a line that you think could be a line in a song, just write it down. So that's kind of where these things started. And then another thing he said was, you can take things that you've journaled and then turn them into a song. And so it kind of started I would have a thought, and I'm like, that's okay. And then I would just, type it in my notes. And then it kind of came to a place of, with that, I was doing it with more intentionality. I was sitting there and I was thinking through, I'm like, okay, how can I make these 4 lines into a first verse of a song? How can I make them rhythmically sound the way they're supposed to? Can I make them
So you were learning that discipline.
Yes.
When you went to this class.
Right. So, yeah. What was that? Almost 10 years?
Right.
Almost 10 years
But you had to start, right?
Yeah. Had to start somewhere. And then I put it away for a really long time, because at that point in time, I was just, I was not as strong in my faith as I am now. I was going through a lot of stuff at that point in time. I had not met my husband yet. And so all of that stuff was just me screaming my anger out onto a page. It was not anything. And I've gone back and looked at that, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for delivering me from that mindset, because it was just that. And like I said, I've obviously struggled with anxiety a lot, How could you possibly have empathy for anyone else going through those painful things that you were going through without knowing? Right.
You when somebody, you hear their story, I know. Because you really do.
Right, yeah. And there are a lot of times, too, and I am very much, I know I seem really bubbly in here, but when it comes to real life, I like to be on my couch with my book and my blanket and nobody speak to me. I like to go in my little corner, and that's one thing that this music ministry has really pushed me to do, is to be more sociable with everybody. And I think that the more I do that, the more I'm able to sit, and it's like the Lord shows me, you had this experience so that you could help somebody else through it.
You know, a lot of entertainers do that very same thing.
Right, yeah.
They're very recluse. They're very, and when they go to perform, to act, they truly are,
Yeah.
you know, putting on a show.
Right.
That's not them every day.
Yeah.
But because of that, I talked to a writer one time, and I said, "How do you do it?" And he says, "Well, first of all, I'm really depressed for the most part. So I write my feelings, and that's where it all starts, out of my emotions and my feelings, and you know, the pain and the." And I said, "But your songs are so bright." He said, "Well, they are now."
Yeah, you should have seen my stuff before. I can relate to that, truly. But I think that people want, especially in today's world where everything is, you get on your phone and it's just a highlight reel of their life, and you are like, oh, they're just living the best life ever. People love it when you get real with them, when you sit down and you're like, listen, yeah, I may be put together right now, but you should see me 90% of the other time. Like, it's very, and people, they want to experience that through you, because it makes them feel like they are experiencing it not alone. It makes people feel like they're going through these deep valleys and someone else has seen them. And, you know, my experience within the music ministry is very limited to churches, and we're trying to expand that as the Lord wills. But, you know, people in church, you see the pastor, you see the praise team, and they look like they've, you know, everything goes off without a hitch, things are put together. But then, and especially in our church, where we have a very large church, people don't always get to see the inside. You know, you don't sit down and lay out all, because nobody wants to go through and lay out all the ugly sin they've done. You know, all of the bad choices that we all inevitably make. Nobody wants to sit down and hash through all of that. But it's so amazing to me how living through that and growing through that, the Lord can also use that. He continues to use it for His glory, and I've seen that time and time again in my life.
Has that come alive in you in the sense that you know that's your purpose now?
Yeah, so absolutely. And this music ministry has, like I said, it's helped me to push that and challenge myself in that. And I'm not as afraid. You know, you would think we're in good old Wilkes County. Nobody's afraid to talk about the Lord here. But you go somewhere else and you're like, am I going to get shot? Like, you know, you're like, what, am I allowed to do this? But in between that and between becoming a mother, those are the two things that have truly just made my faith and my confidence in the Lord to give me the words to say. It's just exploded, because I never want my kids to be like, well, you know,
Are you brave now?
I don't know. Some days. No, the Lord gives me courage and gives me bravery. And, you know, it's something that I hope that, you know, one day when I'm gone, that people will say, well, you know, the legacy that she left, oh, you know, she had all this money, or she was so famous. No, I want, more than anything, I want them to say, well, she never was afraid to tell me about Jesus. She was never afraid to share that she had been through dark things, but she loved me. And that's all that matters, is making sure that people know that they are cared for and they're seen and that they're loved.
Does that elevate what you do to another level of where you know that you're not just singing, you're not just entertaining, but you have that purpose to help bring people peace?
Yeah, and I think that I carry that weight a lot heavier now. I put a lot more, you know, 10 years ago, I would have been like, you know, I'm practicing because I want to make this good for the Lord. I want to make it sound good. But now it's, you know, I don't even care what I sound like. As long as, like we talked about in the beginning, the little old lady, as long as that one person hears the message that I'm trying to share with them, that's all that matters. And I think that that is so much more at the forefront of my mind now.
Right.
The older I get and the further into this ministry I get.
Having said you don't care what you sound like, you've also put yourself through an enormous amount of practice where you're praising worship teams. I know if Gary's working with you, then he has that capacity to help sharpen the edge a bit, and keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's remarkable.
And that's another thing about me. When I was a child, I actually went through a lot of speech therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I have nodules present on my vocal cords, and I don't know if you know anything about that, but basically my voice will get really raspy really quick. And so that's one thing as an adult, and as changes happen through my life, I have to make sure to take care of that. And I can tell a difference when I don't put that effort into taking care of it. And I've found this girl on Instagram, and I've been following all of her worship leader tips.
Right.
And one thing that I came across last week that has really stuck with me, she said, some people will say, oh, well, I'm not going to practice. I'm just going to let the Holy Spirit lead. And she said, well, yes, that's a valid tactic. She said, you look back in the Old Testament and look at all of the things that they did to prepare themselves for the Lord. And you are not just, by practicing, you're not hyping yourself up. You're not saying, oh, look how good I am. I can hit this run and I can, hit the highest note. It's not about that. It's about stewarding your gift well for the Lord, and making sure that you're bringing him something that that you care about too, not that you've just slung on and you're like, all right, that'll do. And sometimes that's what it gets. And
practice is important.
Yes.
It just really is. If you're, I remember my first TV interviews, and I watched them, and I was like, okay, I'm going to improve.
Yeah, for sure.
You just have to, because once it's out there, it's out there. But at the same time, sometimes when I look back in the archives and I see some of those things, I said, that wasn't bad. But I was still pushing myself.
Right, yeah.
Because you want to be as good as you possibly can be.
Yes.
Because you know that someone's watching.
Right.
You know that someone cares. So as you sing, you know that someone's listening, and you want your words, the tones, the sound of the music, you want that to reach them in a special way.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And there's a certain aspect of it too. I don't want to go up there and be completely unprepared,
right,
and then hit some dying cow note and people be like, was that the Holy Spirit, or did she just
well, you could become an auctioneer at the cattle sale, and then that sound would work out just perfect.
I would prefer not to do that.
But in case that's not your
but wherever
plan,
the Lord leads.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, there's definitely, and now that I am doing this more than just with our praise team at church, there's obviously a lot more, because I'm the front person. Right. I'm the person that
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the first time, I assume Gary said we're going to go over here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first experience, and we'll talk about how it evolved.
Okay. And I'm trying to rack my brain. What did we do first? I don't even remember at this point.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
The early days.
And I mean, we've not even been at this for a whole year yet.
Right.
I guess one of the first times that I had to be the front person, we went to Freedom Biker Church of Hickory, which we absolutely adore them. They are precious. I love them so much. Right. The way that they worship, and they just bring us in, because, listen, I'm not a biker girl. My mom was an ER nurse when I was growing up. That was very strictly put into me. No motorcycles. So the way that they just take us in and they love us. So absolutely just the bit. And we did a few smaller things, I guess, before that.
Well, let's go back there. And you step on stage, your first song that you were the lead on. You were the one up front. Tell us what that felt like.
Yeah, so we brought out Through the Fire. We were getting ready to release it as my debut single. And I remember I was like, Lord, please, if I don't sound good and they don't like it, just make my words all garbled. I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, but then in the same turn, I'm like, no, Lord, I know you've brought me here for this. I know you have a purpose in this, and I know you're going to use it.
Wait, did you say, Lord, make my words garbled?
No, I said, if I start rambling, please.
Right.
And I just straight up told them, I'm like, look, I am Moses in Egypt saying, God, I don't even talk plain. Like, what am I doing here? Why did you bring me here? You really want me?
So you were really sharing your raw feelings with everybody there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
That's one thing about me. You get what you see.
Yeah.
I try my very best to be completely authentic all of the time.
So what did they after that performance, after that song or however long you performed, what was it like, the interaction with the people that were there?
They loved it. I mean, they just, like I said, they welcomed us with open arms. That was their first experience with us, and I brought out this original song that I'm like, I don't even know if they like it.
Right.
I mean...
And they did, though, right?
Yeah, they loved it, and then they scheduled us through the entirety of 2026. So,
wow, that's fantastic. So was that something that let you know? Did that give you a big confidence boost having that
It did,
first?
yeah, definitely having that positive feedback and not them just staring at me like, what is she doing up there?
Right.
You know, having them actually like look out at them and smile, but that's another part of it is learning to engage with the crowd. And I think that as a someone on the worship team, sometimes I get so in my head thinking, okay, this is personal worship, and like we talked about, yes, I'm there for an audience of one, but it's important, and this is something that I'm trying to grow and I'm learning through, that it's important that I connect with the audience. Those things are important, and those things don't desaturate my worship.
Right.
And they don't take that experience, because the worship is meant, the congregational worship is meant for us to fellowship together. And I think that's the beauty of it is, I can sing these songs at home and it's just me, and I can just completely lay it down, let it go. But, when it comes to taking my pain and anguish and experiences, my joys and all of the different things that the Lord has walked with me through, and sharing that with somebody else, that's where another layer of this beautiful tapestry comes together that I could have never put together myself.
Because you're taking what you bring to the table and you're blending it with everybody else who's at the table. Yeah. And that's what makes each experience, each gig you do is unique, right?
Yes, for sure. And there are things too, like at each, we go to different places. We've been to Warrensville Baptist Church up in Ashe County. We've been to Cranberry Baptist Church. We've been at Old Barn Winery. We've been all these different places, and each experience, it's so, there are different people and different connections that come out of each experience. And that is another thing that's so, again, it's just part of that tapestry that hopefully one day the Lord will let me see the beauty of the front of it. I'm just looking at all the little pieces on the back right now.
I think that's what happens as you're performing and you're having all these different experiences. You're in the midst of doing it, and then you'll have that time of reflection,
right?
And then you'll have another angst that will, and then there you go. Your things are working out for you. So let's talk about the most recent thing that you've released, which I think is quite amazing. I listened to it again last night.
Yeah.
And I said, that's a really good song. Tim, I think I sent you the link to it. And let's talk about that song now.
Yeah, so that one is another one that I actually sat down with the intention of writing a song. And I actually, so we talked a little bit about my dad. I was sitting in the parking lot at our warehouse over in Wilkesboro. My kids were in the back seat. I was I think that my mom was at the chiropractor. I don't know. I was waiting on her for something. And it was just like, hey, you got to write this down. And then I started writing it, and all the words just flowed out. And I'm like, where did this come from? I was like shocked. I called my husband. I said, I just wrote another song. He said, what?
Was that the first time it happened that way?
It was the first time that it happened so quickly like that. There have been times where it like, the chorus would come to me or the bridge or the verse. But the first time that I had sat there and within like 10 minutes, I had this song written down. Right. And I sent it to Gary. I sent him a couple of different melodies that I kind of thought. He was like, oh, yeah, those are okay. I could tell he's like, we're not doing that. But, yeah, so the first verse of this song, it just talks about how, like I said, 10 years ago or so, I wasn't married. I was living life, the first words are, I was living life my way. I was doing it my way. I was like, Jesus is over here in my back pocket, and he'll get me through it, and I'll call on him when I need it, but he wasn't really the forefront of my life. And then really, he just like grabbed me up, and he's like, girl, you got to get a grip. So that's really where that first verse comes from. And the fact that there are a million miracles that brought me to be able to surrender in that way. And one of those miracles being in that, what I was kind of thinking of in that first verse, being my husband, and the way we met, and just, don't tell him that I said this, but...
Who am I going to tell?
Just the whole internet. Just the way that the Lord brought him into my life. And
how did it happen?
Well, I was at a concert that I really didn't want to be at. My best friend of, 28 years now, but not quite at the time. She drugged me to this concert with her and her boyfriend, who she's now married to and has 2 beautiful children with. But drugged me to this concert, really didn't want to go, and we see him. He comes over and talks to us, and then I'm like, well, I gave him my number, we'll see. And he didn't text me for about a week, and I was at the gym, and I had texted her. I said, I guess this one's a dud too. And literally, within 5 minutes, he texted me, and I'm like, okay. So he said, well, this was on a Thursday. He said, you want to go out tomorrow? I said, no, I can't tomorrow, but Saturday will be good. I was not busy. I did not have anything going on. But, yeah, then we just hit it off from day one. And, he's my rock. He is my just he's everything.
How long did it take you to say yes?
Well, let's see. We met in February and have been pretty much inseparable since February of 2018. Wow. We dated for about 6 months, and he actually proposed to me at it's now the Carolina West stage, but we did the Faith Fest pre-concert there. With Praise Team. He proposed to me that night. I was completely shocked. My nails weren't done. I was trying to run off the stage because we had just finished that set. I had guzzled water. I needed to use the bathroom so bad. And the worship pastor at the time, he was like, can you just stay still? We're all going off the stage together. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't even, it didn't even click with me. I was just in La La Land. And he comes up there, and one thing about my husband is he's the tall guy in the back of the room that just wants to sit there and be a wallflower. He is not, he's super sociable and makes friends easier than I do, but he's not a microphone on the stage
he's
kind
not
of person.
Up front.
Right, yeah. So he walks up there, and I'm like, what is going on? It still didn't click until he's like getting down on one knee, and I'm like, oh my goodness, he is proposing to me right now. So, and then we got married. That was in August, and we got married in November.
And that was at the Pavilion?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, right.
Yes, yeah. So, and then we got married that November. I had actually, in high school and then kind of kept as a side job, I worked at, it was called Did Someone Say Party? It was a wedding dress shop on King Street in Boone, right there up from Farmer's Hardware. Sure. And my mom had called me like a week before this, and I should have known. But little ditzy me, I was, in my own world, obviously. She called me and she said, Donna's closing. We really need to go up there and probably, look at some wedding dresses. And I'm like, why? I'm not engaged. And she's like, well, we probably should. So she came up there.
Did she know?
She knew.
He had
she
already
knew.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
They knew. And I think that they had a conversation.
Had he gone to your father and asked?
Yeah, all of that happened. So we, that year, that July, we actually went on vacation for 2 weeks together. We went to Tybee Island with my parents and then drove from Tybee, met his parents, and went on a cruise. And on the way back, I think we were both like, yeah, we're getting married. This is it. And I straight up, on our first date, I remember I told him, I said, listen, I've been through some stuff. I might be little, but I'll beat you up. I'm just kidding. No, I told him, I said, I really am to the point in my life, I don't want to play games. If you want to date me with the intent of marrying me, then we'll date. But other than that, I'm good. You can pay for my meal and take me home, but I'm good. Right. And like I said, from then we've been inseparable, other than his fishing habit. But we won't talk about that. We don't have to bring that up.
Well, you go off and sing, so he's got to do something.
Yes.
Right.
So that's where the first verse comes from. Just the Lord taking me out of this pit that I had really made for myself and bringing me such joy through that. And then the second verse, it walks through in 2020, 2020 was a rough time for everybody, but we decided that we really were ready to start trying for children, and we walked through a season of unexplained, unknown infertility, and just the deep pit again that I dug myself into with that. And then the joy of the fact that I do now have these two beautiful children that the Lord has blessed us with. And a little backstory with that, my son, I had, like I said, we'd been trying and obviously no success. And I had a doctor's appointment coming up in September of that. Let's see, it would have been 2021 because he was born in 2022. So September 2021, I had a doctor's appointment, and I was like, well, if I'm not pregnant by this point, I'll just talk to them about what our next steps are here. So that morning that I am supposed to go to the doctor, I found out I was pregnant with my son. And so it was like, the Lord was like, do you really want to test me? Like, it was like one of those moments, like, don't you know that my plan is so much better? And I just remembered, I was like, I fell to my knees. I was just so overwhelmed with this sense of, oh my goodness, finally, it finally happened. So, and then after having my son, again, we walked through that season again, waiting, that period of waiting, and I felt myself going back into that, and then find out that I'm pregnant with my daughter, and not only find out that I'm pregnant, but then find out that it's a girl too. And as a kid, that's what I had always dreamed of,
boy and a girl.
Right. And I wanted the boy first because I always wanted a protector, and I didn't have one. So, but I don't really know. I think that my Stella is the toughest one out of the two. That's still to be determined. But yeah, so that's just where that song comes from. Just, walking through those valleys and those highs, walking through the darkest pits, and then the Lord showing me all these miracles. Looking back, you get to the top of the mountain.
So all of that that's the foundation for your newest song.
Right, yeah. Yes.
So those are the miracles you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. My precious little Ellis and Stella, my little miracles.
Oh, that's great. Are they going to have siblings, or are that good?
I don't know. To be determined. To be determined. I always said I would have 2 or 4, and my second redhead, my second child, she's a redhead, and so we're like, 2 might be good.
So your mom and dad proud?
Yeah, I would think so.
Do they spoil them?
Oh my goodness, yeah. It's so bad. And I'm like, y'all have ruined my kids. Yeah. But in the same turn, I'm like, you know what? It's okay. You can ruin them. It's fine. Yeah. There's worse things than to be spoiled by your grandparents.
Yeah. Well, love takes many forms. So
yes.
They just want them to have all they can have.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Even if that means muffins at midnight. My kids go to, they call them Poppy and BB. And every time we get in the car and I say, okay, we're going to BB and Poppy's house, they start, my daughter, she'll be 2 in July. She says, Muff. She wants muffins at BB's house. I'm like, yes, BB has muffins. Yeah. So.
Well, what a wonderful thing. I've loved this past few minutes. And for those listening, they're like, what all is she talking about? And the miracles, the song that you're getting ready. I think you're going to sing the song.
Yeah, if you want me to.
Knowing the joy that came out of that journey.
Yes.
You know, your husband and the first baby and the second, and that being your dream.
Yeah.
You know, to have them. So many miracles that we think of them as miracles come from people we love.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And, you know, another miracle that I didn't really talk about in there that is, you know, wrapped into all of that. So I was working as a dental assistant when I had my son. And about 6 months in, I know we touched on this, my dad having his own business. About 6 months in, I went to my dad. I'm like, Daddy, I can't do this anymore. I'm missing all of this time with my baby. And he's like, well, you want to come work for me? And I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that is another miracle that has just continued to grow. And the fact that I don't have to miss any part of my kid's life unless I choose to. And, you know, there are some times where we choose.
So you have your office with the quarters for your children.
Yes, yeah. Everybody comes in and they see the pack and play behind my desk, and they're like, oh, okay, she's here with the babies.
Right. And Grandpa probably loves that.
Oh, Poppy loves it. He loves it. Most of the time if I go in there and he's there, they're back in the warehouse riding on the forklift, or he's broken into the Oreos. Right. Yeah, they love it. And my son, every night before bed, he's recently started doing this. He says, Mommy, when I grow up, he says, I want to put in fireplaces like Poppy and Uncle D. And he says, and I'll help fish like Daddy. And so I'm just like, it's a miracle even that my dad is here, because in 2019, he had a massive heart attack. He had what they call the Widowmaker heart attack. Completely blocked his LAD artery, and that happened in 2019. 2020, no, that was early 2019, and then a little bit later found out he had prostate cancer. So those things too, just the miracle that he is here to meet my kids. It's just there are so many things. You know, you're doing this climb, you're digging on all fours trying to get out, and then you get to the top of the mountain and you look down and you're like, oh my goodness. Yes. You know, I could have never planned all of those things.
And to have that experience and the gratitude, you know, for your father, and that's wonderful that he's healed and doing well and moving on with celebrating his grandkids and his kids. That's wonderful. I love that. I'm really grateful that you've shared this part of your life, because I think it will help everyone get to know the why.
Yeah.
Why? Not just in this song we're going to hear, but the journey itself.
Right.
And that to sing or to do anything, you don't have to be perfectly balanced at every moment of your life.
Well, I am not. Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
I don't mean you're not. I don't mean you're unbalanced, but we have those moments.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think often creative people, if they're fortunate, they're able to use those experiences and those emotions and those hurts and those fears and that pain and the joy.
Yes.
To help create something and bring it to other people.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important part about it, you know, going back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this, just making sure that one person knows that whatever they're walking through, there is joy on the other side of this, whether it be seen here on earth or whether it be in heaven. There is joy if you trust in the Lord and you follow and you trust in His, you have faith in His plan for your life. And that's the most important, if there's one thing that I want to make sure that people know in my music, that's it. That's it. That's the one thing that I want people to know, is that no matter what you're walking through, whether it is your highest high or whether it's your lowest low, there is still more joy that can't compare.
Well, we're going to have to visit, every year for some time, so we follow your journey, because hearing you talk about it now and just really beginning that journey, having your first songs produced in Nashville, and that was an experience not everyone gets to do. Oh my gosh,
that was a dream. That was such a pinch me moment. I'm just walking around like, I should not even be here. We recorded at Ocean Way Nashville, which is part of Belmont University. And we walk in there, and the first thing you see on the wall is all of these platinum albums. And I'm like, should I take my shoes off in here? Is this hallowed ground? But, we're talking about, and I know, we're talking about people like Faith Hill. I'm pretty sure George Strait did one there. We've got Morgan Wallen, Dan and Shay, like all of the top people. And they just had all of this stuff lined in the walls. And they were the most precious, gracious people to us. They were so kind. The guy that we worked with, the main sound guy that we worked with, he was so kind and encouraging throughout the whole day, because I go in, I'm like, I don't really have a clue how this is going to go. We love we normally go to a studio in Winston called Storyteller Sound.
Sure.
And David is wonderful. Same thing from the get-go. He's just been absolutely precious, encouraging, so kind, because I've had a lot to learn through the production side of it. But yeah, that was just, and getting to be in there, I think it was Studio B. I have a picture of it on my phone. But the sound guy, he had told us, he said there are a lot of artists that this is what they build their studio to look like in their home, because this is like the top tier. And I'm just like, this is amazing. Try not to like totally fangirl out. And he just so casually near the end of the day, he said, last week, because they have this other studio in the chapel where they bring in orchestras and big choirs and all of this stuff. And he said, last week we were working with Brooke Laggertwood from Hillsong. And I'm like, you did what? So I was like, it was just such an amazing experience. And I'm so thankful to Gary for putting all that together. And, it was one of those things that was like, okay, I think I've reached my peak. Like, this is so cool.
The journey's just beginning.
Right. And getting to produce A Million Miracles there, and just, it was just so full of joy and gratitude. It was just, there's no other way to explain it. It was cool.
Have you explained this to your kids?
They kind of know what's going on. My son knows a little more of what's going on than my daughter
does. How old are they?
He will be 4 in May, and she'll be 2. And my daughter actually went with us to Nashville. I've got pictures of her in her stroller just chilling in the studio. And my son, he stayed here with my parents just because we were only there a short time, and wanted to make sure that we were able to get everything done that we needed to get done. But he kind of gets it, and he'll if one of my songs comes on, he'll say, "Mommy, that's you. I love this song." And I'm like, "Oh." And he has started. He is my little songbird. He will sing any little ditty, and it absolutely warms my heart. He makes up words to Wheels on the Bus all the time. The other day, he made up Wheels on the Bus to the airplane in the sky, and I'm just like, I love this. And I pray, I'm like, Lord, please let him keep this creative mind for this. My my daughter, she likes to bang on my piano and she likes to dance, and that's
Savannah,
about it.
do you love your kids?
Oh, absolutely. I love them.
I think we picked up on that.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
That's
I
wonderful.
adore them.
Well, that's wonderful. Savannah, it's been great having you with us. We've spent an hour and 9 minutes together.
Wow.
I know, right?
I can chit chat, that's for sure. I can gab with the best of the girls. So.
Well, I got to tell you, having the experience as someone who listens to your fans and people that will be interviewing you in the future, and we all look for things that people have done. So when they find this interview,
yes,
then they'll get a good sense of your foundation and who you are, which will be forever evolving.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, and I am so thankful. I'm thankful to you guys for letting me be here today, and I'm just so grateful for any chance that I get to share about the ways that the Lord has changed my life.
Wonderful. Savannah, great to see you.
Great to see you. I was living life my way, didn't care what you would say, thought I could carry the weight of my sin. But you met me in my pride, laid my foolish ways aside. Now I'm walking in the life you give. And I am living in a million miracles. I am breathing so your glory can be known. You saw my tears, you held my heart, you know my every scar. In a million miracles. Every test I thought I'd break, when I knew what it would say. In the waiting, it was so hard to trust. But you see my every desire, you know the names of every child, every son, every daughter you make whole. And I am living in a million miracles. I am breathing so your glory can be known. You saw my tears, you held my heart, you know my every scar. And I am living in a million miracles. In my deepest wound I saw your glory, and it astounded me in my darkest night. I heard you calling, you were showing me. I am living in a million miracles. I am breathing so your glory can be known. You saw my tears, you held my heart, you know my every scar. And now I'm living in a million miracles.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.